Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Snipe Stanley Cup Edition. This is our NHL Stanley Cup Finals preview show. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me tonight, Joel Fernino. Joel, how you doing, buddy?
As you can see, I'm ready. The finals are upon us. And I had to don this 2015 Stanley Cup hat because the cup is not in the building, but the cup is ready to be handed out in a week or week and a half. I'm pumped, man.
We'll see how long it takes for this series, but I think we should be in for a very, very good one here. Set to take place. It's going to drop the puck on that tomorrow night. 8:00 p.m. Eastern start, 7:00 Central.
Thank you.
Between the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning. But that's actually not where we're going to start the show tonight, because we do have hockey news that just broke within the last hour or so here. And that is that Bruce Cassidy has signed as the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. Joel, we just talked on the show last week about how surprising it was that Boston let Bruce Cassidy go. And this is about the quickest turnaround that we could have pretty much expected on a coaching hire. The fact that we're in the Stanley Cup playoffs, usually there's kind of a hiatus on the player signings to the contract extensions, the coaching hires and fires. Just kind of there's a little stretch at the end of the regular season, first round of the playoffs, and then nothing until after the Cup. So it was kind of a surprise, I think, to see Cassidy land so quick. But we were talking about this off air. You're not too surprised that Cassidy ended up in Vegas.
No, I didn't really end up saying it last week, but when we were talking about it, I was really very much tempted to just be like, dude, he's going to sign with Vegas. There's no. I was going to bring out my my coaching crystal ball that I've had all year, and I was going to add that to the list, but I will not take credit for it. But
we
should
get you an actual crystal ball prop just for the sake of the show. That'd be
just a crystal ball with it just says coach on it. Whatever the coaching news is going to be.
Chris Berman when he did the Swami.
Oh my God! Yes,
you could do something kind of like that.
I could try and the Raiders. Nah,
there you go.
That's not that good. Anyway, so sorry if Chris Berman is listening, which we know he's not.
Maybe someday.
Maybe one day. He's a nice guy. Anyway, and he likes hockey. No, I'm not surprised in the slightest. Like it was pretty much the only team that stood out in my mind, and in my opinion, to Vegas, this was like, you or I walking down the street and just seeing a random roll of $500 just laying on the street. Like, it's to your point, right? Like, this is the quickest we've seen, a coach that got fired gets swept up by a team. Usually they wait, like you said, and I agree with you. Usually they wait until the Stanley Cup has been handed out. Hell, we sometimes don't even see it start until after the awards have been given out in Vegas. Dude,
and you know what? Actually, come to think of it, I think the only one that might have been quicker would have been when Pete DeBoer was out in San Jose, and Vegas, again, dumped a lot to bring Pete DeBoer to Vegas.
Right, exactly. So Vegas is the quick to strike team, but again, it's Bruce Cassidy with how successful he was in Boston. I'm using the analogy. That's like you or I walking down the street seeing $100 and being like, hell yeah, I'm grabbing that. Like, you don't just Bruce Cassidy hits the market. You don't just not jump in on that as soon as you can to be the first one to get there.
Right. And I think we were kind of talking about this as well, that for Vegas's future, like Cassidy is a win now type of coach. You look at what he did with Boston and pushing them to a cup final, keeping their window open, maybe even a little bit longer than what it could have been, looking at the way that the roster was constructed, getting a ton out of veteran players who were later in their careers, David Krejci, Bergeron, Chara. Looking at those guys, Vegas is kind of in that have to win now mode as well, because now that they've moved out some of those first round picks, the prospect pool isn't necessarily there either, to have the depth of the sustained growth that you would think a team like Vegas would need as a newer expansion team. But they're up against the cap too. Where do you see Vegas's cup window going? Is it next year and that's it? Is it maybe 2 or 3 years? What do you see here for Vegas?
this hiring, along with pretty much any of the moves they make. Oh, and by the way, along with a tiny little, very minuscule move they made of, trading for Jack Eichel, their window is wide open. It has been since they became a franchise. Okay, not since they became a franchise. No one expected them to go to the Cup final that first year. But since they did go to the Cup final that first year and then the conference finals the next year, their window's been open. It's still open, and it's not just a 1-year thing. You don't hire Bruce Cassidy just to be like, no. It's not like a player, right? You're not renting a player at the deadline right now to be like, all right, we're in win now mode, and if we don't do it, well, we'll figure it out after during the offseason. This window is still wide open, and it's going to remain open. They have a couple aging players, Max Pacioretty probably being the biggest one and the most expensive one they have right now that's not getting any younger. But their win window is absolutely next year, the year after that, and I would even argue the year after that as well. So I'm putting a 3-year mark on it. Maybe that's a little optimistic, but that's kind of where I see it. It's not like Bruce Cassidy's just going to be there for a year, and if they don't go to the Cup, they're going to be like, all right, get out.
Right. I can't see that, at least from Vegas' side of things.
Do we know terms yet?
Hasn't been announced yet.
All right.
I think we're still waiting for details on that.
All right.
But if you want to check Twitter for that for a moment, I do want to bring up something here with Vegas. And that is that as of right now, they have 9 forwards, 7D, and 1 goalie signed through for next season, and they have $200,000 in cap room. They're currently kind of exceeding the cap with the players that they have on injured reserve to kind of help bump that number up. But they have $200K in cap room to bring in 3 more forwards and a goalie. Vegas is headed for a very interesting offseason here. Beyond that, 6 of their forwards and 3 of their defensemen have at least a partial no trade clause or a full no movement clause. The full no moves are Eichel, Mark Stone, and Alex Pietrangelo. Then you have Alec Martinez and Braden McNabb defensively with modified no trade clauses. Those are 8 and 10 team no trades. And then Jonathan Marchessault, Evgeny Dadonov, William Karlsson, and Max Pacioretty, all with the modified no trade clause list. And those are all 3 of those are 10 teams. Marchessault has a 5-team no trade for Jonathan Marchessault. So Vegas is going to have to get really creative with what they do with the cap here to try and figure that out, be cap compliant, so they're not getting penalized for being over the cap or anything like that, having to forego future draft picks potentially for salary cap circumvention. However, with looking at the players that they should be bringing back, and you mentioned having a full offseason for Eichel to get healthy, the fact that with all of the injuries they had last year, they're going to be healthy going into things. It sets Vegas up decently well, but I feel like with the core of their roster set how it is, it's got to be boom or bust next year. And I think going toe-to-toe with Colorado in the conference finals kind of has to be the expectation for Vegas.
Oh, absolutely. Like if they miss the playoffs again next year, that's absolutely unacceptable if I'm Vegas front office or Bruce Cassidy too. Like a new head coach, I get it. Maybe they won't have the big fast start, and we're not going to get into next season right now. But I'm not
got all off season to talk about that.
Exactly, I'm excited for those. But no, I'm not going to expect them to come out of the gate, and knock off like 10 in a row to start the season or anything like that. But I mean, I'm with you. I think for them, it's absolutely like. I don't know if I'm going to go as far as to say they're saying cup or bust, but absolutely conference finals or bust for sure. If it's not conference finals, we're going to start getting into that conversation of was their season a failure, regardless of what they make in the form of roster moves or what they do in the draft coming up.
Looking at those names too that we mentioned, like Evgeny Dadonov has to be out, right? Because Vegas had a trade for him at the deadline. And then there was the paperwork failure where he ended up staying in Vegas.
I mean, maybe they worked it out.
Paper with Ottawa.
I know,
think he's got to be gone, right? Find one of the teams that's not on the list and move him out.
I'd be really surprised if he's not out, unless somehow they were able to cool down that bad blood from that whole fiasco at the deadline. Which I'm sure, hey, I wouldn't totally put it too far out there, but I'd be pretty surprised if Dadonov is wearing a Golden Knights jersey next year.
Yeah, he's got a $5 million cap hit next season. Really hasn't been able to recapture the success that he saw in Florida. Back-to-back seasons with 28 goals and 65 plus points. He had a 70-point season in 2018-19, and it has just precipitously dropped off since then. Didn't re-sign with Florida when his contract was up. 20 points in 55 games with Ottawa, 43 points in 78 games with Vegas. So
we'll see. But on that note, I'm sorry. I'm going to push us into the Stanley Cup final talk, my friend.
I think we got to it. And I wanted to get to another aspect of that Vegas thing. I think we can drop that for later because we just got to talk about this Stanley Cup preview.
The Stanley Cup final is here, man. We can't not talk about it.
The Tampa Bay Lightning, the Colorado Avalanche, Tampa Bay, as I predicted, eliminating the New York Rangers in 6 games.
Yes, you did.
You said last week, are you worried with Tampa Bay down 2-0? Nope, was not worried. Tampa Bay stepped up. They delivered, came back and won the series, rattled off 4 straight wins to advance a poised veteran group that is your 2-time defending champion. And then Colorado, who swept the Edmonton Oilers, a commanding win in that series. They've had some time off to be able to get a few guys healthy. The biggest story there is that Darcy Kemper is expected back for Game 1. Definitely the upgrade in net there is the starter.
That's the biggest story, not Connor McDavid's mystery brunette.
Oh boy. Unlike Connor McDavid, I'm not touching that one.
Oh! Hey, we don't know if he touched anything.
He was holding her hand. We'll count it.
Oh,
the joke still works.
It could be his It could be like his long lost
I'm trying to keep
sister.
It PG here.
What? Fuck PG.
Well, I tried, everybody. But yeah, Darcy Kemper back for Colorado. But looking at the rest of this injury report, Nazem Kadri is out for the series, thumb surgery. Samuel Girard, broken sternum. He's out for the series. Andrew Cogliano is questionable for Game 1. Probably going to play at some point during the series. But
hold on. Back up. Did you say Kadri out for the series?
Out for the series.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Nope.
The information I have in front of me says that he is out for the series.
Per oh god, what's his name? And he's a big name. I gotta remember his name really quick. But I heard that there is a chance he can try to come back towards the middle of this series if it goes to,
Okay,
5,
well, at
6.
the very least, we'll say Kadri out for Game 1. Samuel Girard for sure out for the series. Broken sternum is, you don't mess with that. That's
of course not. Elliot Friedman, that's who I was thinking of. He's the one I got the info from.
Okay.
It's not a tweet. It was on his 32 Thoughts podcast. He seemed pretty confident that you could see Kadri in by maybe the middle of the series.
After thumb surgery, when you can barely hold a stick, the idea that he's going to play is just nuts to me.
I mean, hockey players are built different, man. It's the Stanley Cup final. You're gonna.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Kadri, I imagine he is going to be fighting those doctors every inch he can to try and get into at least Game 5 if it makes it to 5, which it obviously should and will. But Anyway, continue. I'm sorry. I had to.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. That's kind of the injury report for the Avalanche, and then for Tampa Bay. Braden Point, a full participant in practice on Monday. Nobody else was on the injury report. Not sure. We haven't heard yet if Braden Point is going to be in the lineup for Game 1. But it's a virtual guarantee at this point that he'll be back at some point in the series. The fact that he was a full participant in practice on yesterday is a good sign. He's dealing with a leg injury, but could be back, and that would be a huge return to the lineup for Tampa Bay.
That is coaching malpractice if Braden Point is not in this series by game 2 or 3.
I mean,
if not game 1.
You don't want to rush him. You want to make sure that he's good to go. And Tampa just rattled off 4 straight wins without him, and yeah, they've done okay without Braden Point. Not great, but certainly better to have him on the ice than not.
I think that's because of the re-emergence, even though the ageless wonder, I should say, Steven Stamkos.
Yeah, Stamkos has just been on an absolute heater. Kind of dominated the Eastern Conference Finals. Really, you look at the roster top to bottom for Tampa Bay, it's such a complete roster. There's no gaps in their depth. They have 4 lines that can beat you. They have 3 defensive pairings that can all shut you down at any given time.
Dude, how lucky are we? How lucky are all of us as hockey fans to see a Stanley Cup final between not even just literally the 2 best teams this year, but the 2 best teams in the league that I think everyone kind of knew were the 2 best teams in the league over the last 4 years. Like, how lucky are we for this, man? This is insane.
Well, I've mentioned this before. Colorado and Tampa Bay. Colorado is the best opponent that Tampa will have played in the last 3 Stanley Cups. They are miles and miles ahead of Montreal. They are considerably better than Tampa Bay or than Dallas was when Dallas made its run 2 years ago now to the Cup final. This is a very tough test for Tampa. And definitely the hardest to win, I would think.
I don't mean any disrespect to that Dallas team you just mentioned or the Montreal Cinderella team or near Cinderella team last year. No disrespect whatsoever to them, but I'm with you. This is absolutely Tampa's hardest test, but at the same time, no disrespect to the Lightning here either. Is it really their first true test in a way of coming from a legitimate regular season and a legitimate playoff season? Because obviously that first season was the bubble, playing in a gymnasium somewhere with no fans. It was just a very weird season, obviously, with COVID, and then last year being the COVID season, the shortened season, right? So there's 2 just very weird seasons, and Tampa still came out on top and dominated in both of those. But this year, to me, is like the true, like, okay, now if you win, I mean, they're already the real deal. I get it, but now you are truly in the annals of history.
Well, and mentioning just how deep this Tampa Bay team is, I want to run something by you. I'd looked this one up during Game 6. Nikita Kucherov was a second-round pick, and so was Eric Cernak.
Yep.
Anthony Cirelli, Braden Point, and Alex Killorn all went in the 3rd. Yep. Ross Colton, Nick Paul in the 4th, Andre Palat in the 7th, and Jan Ruda was undrafted.
Yep.
Yes, Tampa Bay has the star power with the first-round picks in Stamkos and Hedman and Vasilevsky, and that's a huge core to build around. But they have done such a good job of drafting and developing talent. And even, when you bring up a guy as well like Jan Ruda, who was undrafted and is now playing big minutes for Tampa Bay in a Cup final.
Had a cup of coffee on the Blackhawks for a little bit.
He did. So, I mean, it's finding this talent and being able to bring it in and bolster the roster. There are few organizations in the NHL that are able to do what Tampa Bay has done and is doing. It is a rarity to see a team in 3 straight Stanley Cups. We haven't seen it in a long time in the NHL. And in fact, prior to Pat Maroon, who is now playing in his 4th straight Stanley Cup final, Joel, you should know the answer. You should know the answer to this one. Who was the last NHLer to play in 3 consecutive Stanley Cup finals?
My boy, the demigod himself, Marian Hossa.
Marian Hossa. And even better, was Hossa did it with 3 different teams on each of his. Like Maroon having
Maroon
2
has done it twice,
was impressive.
or 2 teams, yeah.
2 teams, and now his 4th Cup final. But Hossa with 3 different teams and 3 different Cup finals. That will never get old to me. That is just incredible.
That's still one of the coolest stories. That probably had like the final cherry on top of like getting him into the Hall of Fame. There was no question about it, but like that's a little cherry on top. So with that too, I have a question for you that we can ponder a little bit. Is this Stanley Cup final shaping up to be from a pure talent and depth standpoint, the most talented roster-wise Stanley Cup final we've seen in quite a few years?
Boy, that is a very, very good question.
Right? It's a lot to think about.
I would think in terms of just overall roster talent, organizational talent.
Exactly. Just absolutely, and that's a good point too. Just absolutely disgusting on ice talent. But like you said, organizational talent and developing talent, scouting talent, or development talent, scouting talent. I mean, trainer talent, coaching talent. I mean, where else can we go here? Like,
I really think you would almost have to go back to 2007, 8, and 8, 9 when you had the Red Wings and the Penguins meeting in the Stanley Cup Finals in back-to-back years.
And even that, I would argue.
I would think either of these teams would beat either of those teams. It would be close, but
it's a good point. But even then, I would say you'd even have to go back a little further because that Red Wings team is obviously, those Red Wings teams to, obviously in the 90s, but like right around then against the Penguins, like one of the most talented teams, but it was mostly one-sided on them. Obviously talented on the Penguin side with, Crosby and Malkin and Letang and at the time not, younger Marc-Andre Fleury, but they were still all a little bit younger, not as developed. So I still think it was a little more one-sided and not as.
But then you look at that Detroit side as well, and you're talking Datsuk and Zetterberg and Lidstrom and just the talented roster that Detroit had during that run too. I mean, that was, oh man,
I'm with you. That's probably where I would think to first.
Yeah, if we were doing a most talented since, I might hear an argument for Tampa Bay and Chicago in 2015. I might hear an argument for going back maybe even a little bit further, 2001 with Colorado and New Jersey. Goaltending battle there with Patrick Roy and Martin Brodeur. But in terms of where these teams are at talent-wise, top to bottom throughout their organization, it's certainly the best in a long, long time. That said, I feel like in some ways these playoffs have kind of been a letdown, and I'm hoping that the Cup final doesn't. I know. Just wait, because here's the thing. How hyped were we for Battle of Alberta? We got 5 games. And
but
were particularly
all close. 5 of those games
we got McKinnon and McDavid on the ice at the same time, and that series is over in 4 games. We have the Battle of Florida, and that series goes 4 games. We had so many of these storylines going into the playoffs that were supposed to be great and have since become letdowns. Now we get to the Cup final. I am so hoping that this isn't a letdown because we have Colorado, who by every metric this season, it was Colorado is the team that is supposed to win the Stanley Cup this year. It is outside of Tampa Bay in the last couple of years. It's been a long time since we had a team that at the beginning of the year was this team is going to win the Cup this year and went out and did it. Tampa Bay, especially after their President's Trophy season where they got swept by Columbus in the first round, who, by the way, Columbus Blue Jackets, the last team to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in a playoff series. Imagine that.
Right. In a sweep too.
Yeah, in a sweep. Just
Man,
man.
talk about taking something with you for the next 3 years.
Yeah, I said at the time that series upset, the fact that it was a sweep, was one of the biggest upsets in sports history.
Oh,
And
easily.
Tampa Bay going to 3 straight Stanley Cups after that sweep, I feel kind of validates that point a bit.
I was literally a giant middle finger to everyone who doubted them after that happened. Because after that happened, everyone was like, "Yeah, they're a juggernaut, but they're probably going to blow it." And we're not to this extent, but were we not saying? Have we not been saying the same thing about Colorado the last 3 years, 4 years maybe?
Yeah,
We
but
knew they were
I
up
would
and
argue though
coming.
that the last couple of playoff exits haven't necessarily been chokes like what the Lightning's choke was against Columbus.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Not to that
Right.
extent, but from the
But
Western side
yes,
of things.
they have played below what we might have expected for a
with
finish
the
from Colorado.
with the talent they can
This
roll.
Colorado team they're the team that is supposed to be here. And Tampa Bay is the 2-time defending cup champion. For them to be the team in the way for Colorado, I really hope that this is the playoff storyline that does not disappoint. I would love a 7-game series with multiple overtime games throughout the series.
I mean, it's good for the game if that's how it goes, man. That's damn good for the sport if this series goes 7. So I'm with you. I'm hoping for 7. I don't know, man. I just look up and down each lineup, and obviously the McDavid versus, I'd probably compare him to, or sorry, not McDavid, McKinnon versus Kucherov or Stamkos, Makar versus Hedman, the literal argument for the last 2 years now. Who's the better defenseman overall, offensively and defensively? Well, we get to see it, and we get to see it fight for the Stanley Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. The goaltender
they're-
battle is obviously not close, but
I mean, Vasilevsky
is one of the best goalies I think we've ever seen in our lifetimes, at least.
Let's get to the prediction side of things here.
Before we do,
we got time. We got all kinds of time.
I know. I you noticed I checked the clock.
Yes.
Before we do, we're talking about the talent. Obviously, I know that sparked more of a conversation, but I guess this is a perfect segue into previewing their predictions. So, but really quick, Tampa has made it now to 3 Stanley Cup Finals in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they've won 2 in a row. Where are you at on the best team of the Cap era at this point where we stand now?
I'm going to say, ask me after this series, because I think if Tampa Bay wins, they're a clear number 1. If they lose, depending on how it happens, they might still be number 1. I
don't know about that.
I think for me right now, there's certainly an argument to be made for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think there's an argument to be made for the Chicago Blackhawks. I think the argument against the Blackhawks is the struggles in recent years, where the Penguins have continued to make the playoffs in recent years.
Yep.
I think that's reasonable. So for me, I think it's Pittsburgh right now, but Tampa Bay is absolutely up there. I would hear an argument for the LA Kings as well, but I would argue 2 cups there instead of 3 with Chicago and Pittsburgh, and the shorter window compared to Chicago and Pittsburgh. So for me, I would have Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh at 1A, 1B right now. And I think it does kind of depend on the outcome here. But this really is one of the best teams, period, that we've seen assembled in the salary cap era. And like we were just talking about, organizationally, top to bottom, the depth that they have, and the way that they are built to sustain that success. Yes, they have made moves at the deadline to bring in a couple of guys to bolster their roster, but they have made good moves at the deadline, smart moves. It takes a GM who has that kind of vision and knows what are the right pieces to move, what does the team need, how do we bring it in. This year it's Brandon Hagel. Last year it was David Savard. And making these moves along the way, just minor roster tinkers in there.
Ryan McDonough.
Ryan McDonough going to getting another big complimentary defenseman who can take some of that load off of Hedman and allow Hedman to be more effective. It's making the right moves at the right time. It's drafting and developing the players, having the minor league systems in place that these guys can come through and grow their game along the way as well. Organizationally, Tampa Bay is the model of success in the NHL right now, and other teams are following that model. What we've seen with Colorado is following that model. What we're seeing with the New York Rangers, to a degree, I would say, is following that model. They are setting that standard for other teams around the league for how to effectively get your team over the hump. And it's something that I think every coach needs to be looking at. It's something every GM needs to be looking at across all levels of hockey. Like, you watch Tampa Bay, like, they don't lose one-on-one battles anywhere on the ice. They hound the puck. They control it the entire game. And we've seen that that's what Colorado is doing now this season as well, that puck possession and puck retention are such important parts of the game. It's why they're so successful. It's why these are the last two teams standing. They get the puck, they score, and when they give up the puck, they get it back immediately. So Tampa Bay setting the mold right now, but yeah, I think I do have to make the argument that they are the best team in the salary cap era.
I mean, I kind of figured that's where you were going to go with it. You kind of took the words right out of my mouth with, like, well, everyone knows the teams you argue with though. Obviously, the Penguins, the Blackhawks, and Tampa are pretty much the only three. I agree with you. I see the Kings, but smaller window, 2 cups in 3 years, 2 versus 3. You don't win. And I think I have a similar answer of, like, after this series, if they can go back to back to back, if they can be the first three-peat since, what was it?
The 80 to 83 New York Islanders.
Exactly. If they can be the first three-peat for that, then to me, yes, hands down, even my bias would dethrone the Hawks and the Penguins. I mean, you can't, there is no bias. There is no other logic. If they can three-peat right now, they have to be the best team of the cap era, because no other team is three-peated, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned with the Kings with the window, right? That's where I would even argue, like, I'm with you. Like, the Penguins are probably, I don't want to admit it, obviously, but the Penguins are probably right there, but I still, not even a bias, I still think them and the Hawks are neck and neck, and I only say that, obviously, the missing of the playoffs, the wheels kind of fell off after 2018 for the Hawks,
Mm-hmm.
and meanwhile the Penguins have gone to 14 straight playoffs. However, the alternative there is that while they have gone to 14 straight playoffs, their window of winning 3 cups was a hell of a lot larger. 3-6 versus 3-9.
It was, but also more appearances. Well, no, I guess not more appearances, because the Hawks. Well, no, the Hawks won the 3 that they were in, right? They didn't.
Yes, they never lost.
Yeah,
so
they didn't lose.
That's another good point, right?
Which is another argument. Yeah, because you have the loss in 08, the win in 09, and then wins in 16 and 17
versus Hawks, win in 10, win in 13, win in 15, and damn near the first three-peat in 14. I will never let that friggin' thing go. But no, I'm with you. I think my 1A, 1B are the Penguins and the Hawks right now, and that's not a bias, but that's only because Tampa still, while it is back-to-back, they still have only won 2. And this might be a hot take, but oh man, I'm gonna ruffle some feathers with this one, but I don't necessarily think it too much. But there's this little thing in my mind of, do you discredit those back-to-back cups because they were in such weird seasons?
No. If you discredit that one, do you discredit the Hawks for the lockout season?
Right, exactly. I'm not saying I discredit them. I'm sure there are people that do, though.
Idiots, maybe.
Right. I know.
Obviously, it's a dumb take. If you're discrediting either of Tampa's last 2 cups, no. Those were, I would argue, even harder to win.
I would not discredit any team's championship ever unless you're the Houston Astros. But
which is fair because they literally were caught cheating.
Exactly. So no, I'm more. Yeah, you got to bring in the trolls. You got the trolls out there that are going to have that opinion. I got to give them a voice too. But no, I'm with you.
I wouldn't exactly want voice for the trolls on my resume. You certainly are welcome to go down that road. I don't want to be the voice for the trolls. You can take that role.
Trolls, come to me. I will help you slightly. Not really. I actually hate you too. But anyway, no, I'm with you. I think my 1A, 1B until the end of this series is still probably slight bias, but not Hawks and Penguins. But I mean, there's no argument if the Lightning end up doing a three-peat here. Like, there's no argument anymore. not at all. Then it's 2A, 2B for the Hawks and the Penguins, and it's Tampa sitting in a league of their own.
Joel, I think the time has finally come.
Betting!
Picking the winner. Colorado or Tampa Bay? I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here. First, I want you to pick your winner.
Okay.
Second, I want you to pick your winner.
Okay.
Second, I want you to pick how many games.
Okay.
And third, I want you to pick your Conn Smythe Trophy winner as the playoff MVP. We can battle back and forth on point by point. You can rattle them all off at once. I'll get the odds up here, but I want to start with your pick of who do you have winning this thing?
I will begin my answers with, you reminded me of this. Episode 1 of Pod Snipe Celly. Who did I have in the Stanley Cup final?
You had the Colorado Avalanche and you had the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yes, I did.
I'm giving myself partial credit because I did say Colorado in the final.
You did. Of course you got.
I had the right state for the Eastern Conference team. It doesn't quite count.
Holy shit, you did! I
was halfway right.
Yes, that's true. You didn't expect the favorite during the regular season to absolutely choke.
And they did. And they lost to their in-state rival. They lost to the two-time defending Cup champs, who really, I guess, if that's the team that you're going to lose to, like, that's the team to lose to and get knocked out by. So,
of course, you lose to the Dragon. You lose to the Dragon. No one's been able to slay the last 2 years.
Right.
So, winner. By the end of this prediction, by the way, I want to give you a quick challenge.
Okay.
But we'll do that after.
Okay.
I'm sticking to my guns. The Colorado Avalanche will be winning the Stanley Cup finally. They have been destined to do it the last couple of years. I said that this year was they were finally going to break through. They've broken through so far. The Avalanche win this series in 6.
Do you want me to make my prediction now, or do you want to keep going with your Conn Smythe pick?
You go ahead and pick your winner and number of games, and then we'll both do our Conn Smythes.
Okay. At the beginning of the year, I said Colorado was not going to win the Cup this year. I said they'd make it to the final, and I said they would not win. Mm-hmm. I still think that is the case. I am going with the Tampa Bay Lightning to win this series. For all of the reasons that we've talked about the entirety of the show, the depth, the experience, the coaching, they are so disciplined across the roster. And beyond that, I think they're the healthier team as well. Knowing that, yes, injury reports are kind of weird in the NHL. This time of year, everybody is banged up. Everybody's playing through injuries, and we don't find out about it until after the series. But at least in terms of what we do know, it looks on paper like Tampa Bay is the healthier team to boot. So I think when you consider all of the factors, the experience, the coaching, the talent, the health, for me, Tampa Bay is the pick to make. I am running with Tampa Bay. And like you, I am picking that it will be 6 games. But I got to be hoping for 7. I mean, 7 games between these two teams is a gift to hockey fans that, frankly, we don't deserve. I mean, that is as good as it gets.
Screw us.
I don't want to say that this is the best. On paper, it could be the best Stanley Cup final that we've seen in the last 10 years, in the last 20 years. How far back do you want to go? Like we talked about earlier in the show, it's two elite teams that do absolutely everything right at every single level. But it's going to be Tampa for me. I got to run with Tampa Bay on this one. I do think it'll be 6, but man, the 7 would be something.
You know, and it's funny too that you picked 6. I actually had a reason. Stanley Cup Finals typically don't go to 7. I know we've had a couple.
They usually don't.
Yeah, I know we've had a couple in the last like 5 years go to 7.
That wasn't the question you were going to ask me, was it?
No.
When was the last game 7?
No.
Because it was 3 years ago with the Blues and the Bruins.
Yeah, so it was the Blues and the Bruins game 7, and then prior to that,
Boston, Vancouver in 2011.
Wow, it's that far back.
Yeah.
There wasn't a couple. I thought there was like 1 or 2 after. Maybe I'm thinking Bruins.
No, okay. Quite a few 4-2s in there.
Yeah.
But very few game 7s.
Yeah. All of ours were game 6. All 3.
Pittsburgh and Detroit in 2009. Carolina and Edmonton in 2006. Tampa Bay and Calgary in 2004. The Devils and the Ducks in 2003. Avalanche and Devils in 2001.
By the way,
so that's a stretch of 4 times in 5 years that they had a game 7, and then they went to, and then they've had 3 in the last 16.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
by the way,
we're due for a game 7.
Right. You mentioned it, and I wanted to, like, I know this goes back to when we were talking about like best team in the cap era. The other reason why I could definitely be persuaded by Tampa might already be 1A, 1B right now is because if we're going to go off appearances too and throw that in there, did they not appear in the hat I'm wearing right now? They appeared in 2015. That's now 4 appearances now in 7 years.
Yes.
In the final. So there's something to be said for that. With all that said, my Conn Smythe pick when the Avalanche hoist the Stanley Cup at the end of Game 6, whether that's in overtime or regulation, I'm not going to call that one. To me, and it's shown this playoffs, maybe not all the way in points and in the playoff standings right now. He's what? In guys that are actually still in the playoffs, he is 3rd right now in points in the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess is Connor McDavid still anywhere in the picture here for betting odds? He is.
I mean, dude, he's got to be.
Yeah.
He's still 9 points in the lead in first right now, and actually,
so
he's.
I've got the odds up, and he does have better odds right now than people who are still playing.
Has that happened in history where a team that didn't even make it to the final win, like a player win the Conn Smythe? That's what I thought. Like,
Connor McDavid, could he be the first? Yes.
Dude.
This is probably the strongest argument. However,
what are the odds? What are the odds? What are the odds at?
He is plus 10,000 right now.
Dude, you want to throw $10 on that just in some random ass case that
on the off chance?
What happened into the Kentucky Derby this year, man? What happened in the Kentucky Derby?
A lot of injuries to a lot of star players in this series for that to happen.
Or just quiet performances. But obviously, let's get out of fairy tale land. Yeah. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, make the real pick here.
At plus 10,000, dude. That's a $10 bet to win what? How does that math work?
Well, $10 bet there would get you 10,000.
Right? I mean,
if I did the math right.
Yes, that sounds right.
For 1,000
plus 10,000.
Yeah, it'd be 1,000.
Oh, it'd be 1,000. All right, so
$10
$10
to win 1,000.
$10 to win $1,000.
We're not math majors here.
Maybe toss it. No, hell no. I make computers do math for me. Anyway,
there you go.
Conn Smythe will be Nathan MacKinnon. I don't care how
Interesting.
cliche it is. That man has willed his team to victory in games this entire playoffs when, for some stupid reason, we doubted they might win said game, and he's willed them to victory. Hell, the only reason that the Blues forced 6 was because of an implosion, even though that game 5 was going to end with Nathan MacKinnon just forcing his will and getting that go-ahead goal with like 2 minutes left. But defensive implosions happened, and it went to 6. Nathan MacKinnon absolutely it is his year to win the Conn Smythe, and it's going to happen. Yes, over
right now, MacKinnon is plus 210, and Makar is actually plus 180.
Oh, I know Makar has higher odds.
Makar is the favorite, plus 180. He has 22 points on the playoffs, which is really incredible as a D man to be putting up those kind of numbers.
He's 1 point behind Nikita Kucherov.
He's also 1 point behind Adam Fox, who, interestingly enough, also did that in 6 more games. So Fox had 23 points in 20 games. Makar had 22 points in 14. So take from that what you will. 5 goals, 17 assists for Cale Makar during the playoffs. Playing 27 minutes a night in these playoffs. That can't be right. Never mind. Yes, it is. I'm looking at the averages. I sorted by time on ice per game just to kind of see where guys fell. And the 2 playoff leaders are Brian Dumoulin and Chris Letang. The reason Dumoulin is the leader is because he was in that 3 overtime game for Pittsburgh, and that was his only playoff appearance. So I was like, wait a minute, there's no way Dumoulin played 36 minutes. Oh, yes, there is. It's because he played in a 3 overtime game, and that was his only one. But of guys who have played more than 10 games in the playoffs, Makar's your leader. 27.05 time on ice per game. There's only 2 others above 26 minutes. So really just a dominant stretch here from Makar. I understandably, he is the favorite. But I think it's going to go to a member of the winning team, which means it will go to a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think who is better in elimination games than Andrei Vasilevsky? There's absolutely nobody that you would want more between the pipes than Andrei Vasilevsky. He's already, in my mind, one of the top 5 goaltenders in NHL history. And by the time his career is over, when all is said and done, he might be the best goaltender we've seen. I know that's sacrilege to say when you look at Brodeur, you look at Hasek, you look at Patrick Waugh.
The Eagle, man.
The Eagle, Eddie Belfour. I see, even if you want to go back to Ken Dryden, there's a lot of really good goaltenders we've seen. I don't think we've seen a goaltender elevate his team consistently to the level that we've seen Andrei Vasilevsky lift the Tampa Bay Lightning. I was trying to get the numbers up here. For his career, he has a .944 save percentage in 22 games where the Lightning have a chance to eliminate an opponent. In 15 of those 22 games, he has allowed 2 goals or fewer. And in 10 of those games, he has allowed 1 goal or fewer. It is absolutely unreal what Vasilevsky is doing.
I wish I would have pulled this up prior, but I want to know. I kind of want to know his stats when he's facing elimination, which is not very often.
It isn't. No, Tampa Bay hasn't been in too many backs to the wall situations because they've been the ones putting their opponents to the wall.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe that's a stat dive.
We'll take a look. Because, we'll take a look.
Because guess what? With only 2 games being played between now, well, no, I guess 3. Yeah, 3 games.
3, right? Yeah.
Wednesday, Saturday, and then Monday next week.
Yeah, that sounds right. Let me double check. You talk.
They threw an extra day off between games 1 and 2.
Yeah, so this makes no sense. That makes no sense. Why you throw the extra day off with 1 and 2 when you're in the same city? I don't get that.
Yeah. I mean,
what?
I did hear rumors that there was a concert that could potentially have been a conflict, but forget that.
You are Wednesday. Yeah.
Wednesday, right.
Saturday, Monday.
Monday.
So
Tuesday. So we'll have 3 games down.
Yep.
We'll have 3 games down.
Will it be? Let's throw that out there. Will it be 2-1? Will it be 2-1 Tampa? Will it be 2-1 Colorado? Will it be 3-0 one of the teams?
Oh, boy. I think it'll be 2-1. I think it'll be 2-1 Tampa Bay. I'm predicting Tampa Bay to win game 1 and Colorado to win game 2. First 2 are in Colorado. Colorado having so much time off coming into game 1. I mean, the Lightning are in that routine, that consistency. And we saw how badly the Lightning played in games 1 and 2 against the Rangers when they had their time off. I could see it here for Colorado too. They even came out flat against the Blues earlier in the playoffs after their sweep of Nashville in the first round.
Yeah, they still won game 1 though.
They did, but not in the commanding fashion that we would have expected. So for me, I'm taking Tampa Bay in game 1. I think by the time we get to next week's show, next Tuesday, 7:00 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain for any Colorado listeners tuning in. It could be. We're talking Avalanche here. People might tune in for that.
They better. I just picked their team to win the cup.
Certainly hope so. I think it would be 2-1 Tampa Bay by next week's show if I'm making my prediction. And Andrei Vasilevsky is my choice for the Conn Smythe. Vasilevsky is tied with Nikita Kucherov at plus 400. So your 4 favorites there are Makar plus 180, McKinnon plus 210, Vasilevsky and Kucherov each at plus 400. And Steven Stamkos has come surging back into things here. He's plus 1,500. But he is the next closest player. That said, it's pretty amazing to me that Connor McDavid is still in the list at plus 10,000.
I mean, he has to be, dude. He's still in it. Like, if you put Connor McDavid among the rest of the players that are actually still in the playoffs, he's still, 11 points? 10 points ahead.
The gap has narrowed a bit. But yes,
no, 10 points. It's still not that narrow, man.
Yeah, he's 10 points ahead of anybody who's still actively
in the
playing.
Playoffs. Yeah,
so
he's at 33, and Kucherov's the second closest because he's still in the playoffs at 23.
I'm going to put this one on you right now.
Ooh.
Over or under 2.5 votes for the Conn Smythe go to Connor McDavid, because they do like a first, second, third, rank your rank them, and then they do the sum of the points.
Do you know how many votes there are? Like how many heads there are voting?
I want to say it's 50.
Oh,
let me check that. Let me check that real quick.
Double check that while I pull up. I'm pulling up some betting odds.
Oh, never mind. It's a smaller pool there than for other NHL awards. It's actually 18.
So over under 2 or 2.5.
So I'm going to change it to over under 1.5. No, because I had in my head that the number was 50.
You know what?
1.5 to 18. I'm going to take one off there. So let's go over under 1.5 votes for Connor McDavid for Conn Smythe in the number 1 spot.
Dan, remind me, what is our motto on this show?
For the bit.
I'm absolutely slamming the over. Are you kidding me? Come on, for the bit. Connor McDavid at plus 10,000 for the Conn Smythe, and I'm betting that he's going to have over 1.5 votes for the Conn Smythe. Why? Because there's probably somebody like me on that ballot, or there's at least 2 people like me on that ballot where they're going to be like, you know what? No, screw it. I'm voting for Connor McDavid.
Man, hockey Twitter would melt down if Connor McDavid won.
Dude,
it would be so fun to watch.
I think I'm honestly gonna put like $5 or $10 on Connor McDavid for the Conn Smythe, because why the hell not?
If you're gonna throw it, you got better odds on that than winning the lottery.
Exactly.
Example.
Right. Exactly.
So, I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your money.
So do we each want to place an actual bet on our show, on our picks here? I don't know.
What did you have in mind?
Oh, not with each. I mean, just I plan on putting in the app I use for betting. I plan on betting a nice, couple of bucks on both the Avs to win the cup and then a second one, total separate. I'm not parlaying this with McKinnon taking the Conn Smythe.
See, here's the thing. sports betting isn't legal in Ohio.
Oh my God, that's right.
1st.
I'm sorry.
So I would
I
have
forgot.
to go to
I forgot. I'm sorry.
Indiana.
I forgot. Yeah, no,
if I wanted to do that, which it's not too far away, but I still got it's a hike up there to get to the sports book and back.
I keep forgetting.
So, if I was to place a bet, yes, I would be putting money on Tampa Bay.
Do you want to Venmo me to place the bet for you? I could be your bookie.
Ooh. What's your handle percentage? What percent are you taking if is the processing fee on that? We'll talk about that off air.
Because I like you, 3%.
We'll talk. We'll talk off air.
Did you expect me to say free?
No, I didn't expect you to say free. I expected you to take a cut of the winnings either way.
Well, to recap, I am taking the Avalanche to finally get their cup. I'm taking them in 6 games, and I'm taking Nathan MacKinnon as the Conn Smythe winner. And you?
And I am going with the Tampa Bay Lightning to win the Stanley Cup, also in 6 games, with Andrei Vasilevsky as your Conn Smythe Trophy winner.
Man, this is going to be a fun Stanley Cup final. I hope, or it's going to be, dude. Or watch it just be a sweep by one of the 2 teams, and we're just like, what the hell just happened? And on that note, time for you to do 2 minutes for roughing.
It is time for me to do 2 minutes for roughing.
Let you
and I just had one in my head for what I was going to do, and I lost it. Give me a second to try and think about what it was.
That's fine.
Vamp for a moment. Go ahead.
Yes, that is fine. I mean, I don't know. I can't believe too, like we're already at the Stanley Cup final. I mean, I know that season has been going on for longer than expected just because of the little break we took for COVID for those 2 weeks and all that jazz. But man, I don't know. I'm just picturing a three-peat and it'd just be personally, I don't want to see it. I have nothing against the Lightning. Like we beat them first before they even had their success. So it's not like I got a grudge against them. I just want to see the dragon be slayed. It's probably just like it's just like everyone else felt when we were the dragon that needed to be slain.
Mm-hmm.
Slayed. So I don't know, man.
Okay, I've got it here, and I think this is one that we've done before, but I'm going to put a bit of a different spin on it.
I'm interested. All right, well, hold on. Let me grab your timer here.
Because we'll put the timer up on the clock and then we'll go from there.
You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
So we all know that I have serious beef with the NHL schedule makers and how ridiculous it is that we'll have 1 game on a Monday night and then 14 games on a Tuesday night, and 10 of those 14 all start at 7 o'clock Eastern. We are now seeing that sort of trend bleeding over into the Stanley Cup Finals, where it's random. You have the extra game off between games 1 and game 2 when they're playing games in the same city. It's one of my biggest gripes with the NBA is it's so hard for me to follow during the playoffs because they consistently take 3 or even 4 games off between days of the NBA Finals. And I'm not going to discredit basketball players. I know how tough it is to be a basketball player. Basketball players don't take the same degree of contact that hockey players do night in and night out. The injuries that happen to hockey players that we see at the end of the playoffs are more severe than what we see to NBA players at the end of the playoffs. If we're going to go 1 on, 1 off, be consistent with that. If we're going to go 1 on and then 2 days off, be consistent with that. Either way, I don't know what it's going to take for them to figure that out, but it seems so simple. And I will say, at least looking at the schedule, I believe they have 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern start times for all 4 games. Thank goodness. Finally. That's at least one thing that I can give the schedule maker credit for. But I hope somebody takes an axe to whatever method they have been using to dictate games so far, regular season and playoffs, and we see something entirely different when it comes to next year's regular season and playoff schedule.
I mean, I'm not mean, I'm with you. I totally agree. We definitely have done something like that before. Actually, you did something like that before.
HP did. HP had that one for us.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh. So while you were vamping about that,
you know what we should do is we should go back through old shows and come up with a list of all of the 2 minutes for roughings we've done so far, and maybe do an end of season supercut of all of the 2 minutes for roughing. We could do that, or even just at minimum we have a list of topics just so that that we know, what's going on with our list there. So we don't double dip on topics. I knew I was getting close to that one, but the playoff angle is still a different enough angle that for me it felt like it was a good enough one to do.
So I tried looking up the events at Ball Arena where the Avs play, but I don't actually see anything that's happening. I'll look it up and we'll figure it out. Now
that's even worse. Then that's even worse if there are no events going on at Ball Arena. Why? Also, it may be Ball Arena. It's still the Pepsi Center to me.
I know it's absolutely
it's
the
same
Center.
way that the White Sox stadium will always be Comiskey.
That's the G spot now.
It's
really quick.
Guaranteed rate, is that the
guaranteed
rate?
Field.
Yeah,
starting to be okay.
It's Comiskey.
I got you. I mean,
it's still the Sears Tower. I know you
absolutely. Of course, it's the Sears Tower. It's never been the Willis Tower.
For a while, you had to say it was the Willis Tower. I don't know.
No, I didn't. What? Just because my office was there? Hell no.
Okay, fine, fair enough. I thought at one point you said that you did have to.
No. I mean, maybe for people
had to call it that, but
not really. Now, really quick, I know what note we're going to end on. The Stanley Cup Final has a really fun fact that we can end on.
Oh, that's right. You had something you were going to ask me about.
No, that was the betting thing, but this is actually just a fun fact. This is the first Stanley Cup Final in the history of the Stanley Cup, where both teams' names do not have an S in them.
I have a similar and perhaps even more entertaining stat about the Stanley Cup Final for you. And that is that this is the first Stanley Cup Final since 1979 that has not featured a teammate of Jaromir Jagr at any point in his career.
Oh my God!
Since 1979. That's how long it's been since a Jagr teammate did not play in the Stanley Cup Final.
I'm still surprised your mind wasn't blown by that. The first time in ever that the two teams playing for the Stanley Cup do not have the letter S in their names. And I don't want to hear any of the crap that people call them the Avs and not the Avalanche. No. That's bullshit.
Because you could also make the argument that they call the Lightning the Bolts, which, yeah.
So, no.
Okay.
They're legal.
I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Their legal names do not have S's in them.
Name the 9 Big 4 North American sports teams whose names do not end in the letter S. There are 9 of them.
Okay, well,
we'll start with hockey. There's 4 there.
Well, Tampa Bay Lightning, Colorado Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! Do we even have time to do this? I'm gonna have to think about this.
We do. I'm gonna keep you quick on it.
All right, Colorado Avalanche, Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, there's 4 in the NHL.
There's 4.
Yeah. So then we would have.
Dude, you're killing me here.
Oh, the Minnesota Wild.
There you go.
Well, there's an S in Minnesota.
It doesn't end the team name. All right,
fine. And
then the fourth
team
one.
Name, obviously. It's the name, not the state.
Yep.
All right.
Fourth one.
So the Wild, the Lightning, the Avalanche. 4th one. That would.
Here's a hint. It was 3 for a very long time.
Oh yeah, it's the Kraken. Yeah.
There you go. The NBA has 3.
That would be. Oh God.
2 of them are in the same state.
Well, it wouldn't be Texas, California, or New York.
You're correct. It is not any of those 3.
What other states have 2 basketball teams? Wow, I'm an idiot for this one, I'm assuming.
The Miami Heat.
Oh, duh. Oh, yeah. So Miami Heat and then
the Orlando Magic.
The Orlando Magic, right? Duh. I forgot.
And the other one, this is a tougher one, the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh, crap. Right.
And then there are 2 in Major League Baseball. And if you get one, you should be able to get the other pretty quick.
The A's? No, I'm joking. Apostrophe S, that doesn't count.
No.
Just kidding. I know it's the Athletics. Oh no. Oh God. Man, I really should have. I'm on the spot.
You are so geographically close. Like you should be able to get it.
Really?
Think colors.
What about colors? Yeah, like wait. Oh, I don't know why I'm so.
Joel, what are the 2 baseball teams in your city?
The Cubs and the White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
They both have S in their names.
No, they don't.
Cubs. White Sox.
How did the Sox spell their team name?
White? Wait, what? What are you talking about?
No. How do they spell socks?
Just S-O-X.
Yeah. There you go. There's one of your 2.
No, that's not what that is not what this is.
The team name doesn't end in an S.
But there is an S in the name.
The question was the 2 that don't end in an S.
Oh,
that was the question. It was not who doesn't have an S. It was
that's what I was trying to figure out.
Don't end in S.
And every team we've said so far didn't have an S at all.
Yeah, which is really amazing.
So how the hell did that shouldn't
the question was
this
from
is
the
disqualified.
Roll back
end
the tape.
Damn show.
Roll back the tape. It was the team names who do not end in an S.
I'm not saying that's not what you said, but that wasn't the fact I gave out.
Yeah, okay. Well, we put an extra spin on it. So
Damn
now we've got Joel all riled up.
is up next.
Yeah, now that we've got him all riled up, thank you so much to everybody who was watching tonight. Whether you're watching us on YouTube, on Twitter, or on Twitch, give us a follow at Podsnipe Celly. We do really thank all of you watching live. Also, anybody who may happen to be listening on demand on iTunes or on Apple Podcast. As a reminder, In the Green Bets is up next. They are live on the Sports 2.0 Network Twitter page right now, giving their U.S. Open predictions. So jump on over to that one now that you're done listening to us for the night.
By the way, iTunes and Apple Podcasts is the same thing. You mean Spotify.
Sorry. iTunes and Spotify.
I got you back. I got you back to end the show.
That's fair. We're both fired up.
Send us off.
We're going to wait and count down the hours. We are now officially on the clock. Less than 24 hours until the start of the Stanley Cup Finals. The best time of the year. He's Joel Fernino. I'm Dan Bradley. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.
Bye-bye.